YouTubers, gamers, and moviegoers, what's going on, guys? I'm the Messiah, this is Messiah Entertainment, and today we are reviewing The Huntsman, Winter's War. Honestly, guys, let's start off with the story. This movie is the sequel to Snow White and the Huntsman, the retelling of the story of Snow White. It takes place several years after the events of that movie, and it turns out that the evil queen from the previous movie, well, she has a little sister, and her name's Elsa. Alright, it's not Elsa, but she is the Ice Queen. This evil queen who's grown her empire decides that she needs the mirror from the previous movie so that her conquest will be complete. And that's where the Huntsman comes in because he has to stop her. I thought it was okay. It wasn't anything spectacular. In fact, in some places I was like, what is going on? The first thing that I noticed that I really started to have a problem with was the fact that there was a lot of talking. I mean, they talk, and they talk, and they talk, and they talk. It's just that it talks for so long without some action scenes or some kind of event to, you know, break those moments up that it's kind of just, I don't know, it kind of gets a bit boring for a bit of it. In fact, a lot of the time when they're talking, they're usually talking about more interesting things that are going on in the background. It's like this movie is called Winter's Wars, and you don't really see much of a war going on. You hear about it in the background, you hear that the queen is running her conquest, you hear that all these crazy things are happening in the background, but you never actually see them, and that kind of got me annoyed. I was like, can't we watch those more cooler things? Even some of the expositional stuff in the background in the beginning, during the narration and stuff that's supposed to get us into the world of the movie, it just kind of was like, well, I would rather just watch this. You know what I mean? I'd rather watch the Huntsman wage wars for the Ice Queen. I'd rather watch all these things happening, but we don't. We kind of just get a quick narration, a quick montage, and then, yeah, it's over. Sometimes we build up to even cooler things, like when the evil queen from the previous movie, when she pops up and she starts doing her thing and doing her manipulations and whatnot, you start to get the sense like, oh, there's gonna be a war between like Snow White's forces and her forces, and she still has a thing out for Snow White, so they're gonna bring her into this. Snow White's nowhere in this movie. So it makes you wonder, why did they even bring that up? Why would they tease as if something interesting was going to happen when in actuality it was just this small little isolated battle? What? At least in the first movie, there was a bit of a war going on. You know, she was ruling over the land, Snow White started a bit of a rebellion, and they all clashed at the end of the movie. This one is just like, Chris Hemsworth is just kind of kicking a lot of butt, and I mean, come on, I mean, that is cool, but it just didn't feel as awesome as I think it should have. I was just sitting there the entire time and was like, how much better would this movie be if it was about a winter war between the Ice Queen and Snow White's armies? You know, and then, you know, the other queen from the previous movie, you know, she was like in the background and she was like manipulating the Ice Queen, and because there was her sister from a long time ago, and you know, the Huntsman, he had to do his thing, and you know, if they brought Kristen Stewart back, and man, I liked her from the first one. I don't know what happened here. She's totally non-existent. They have like one scene of like Snow White in it, but honestly, it's like just some random chick who they just kind of dressed up and had her sit in front of the mirror and stuff. It just wasn't, it was such a small cameo, and then they mention her from time to time. I was like, this movie, it almost feels inorganic. And not to say that this movie sucks or anything and that it shouldn't be in theaters. I'm glad that I saw it. I just wish it capitalized on all the potential it had coming from the first movie. This idea of making, you know, fairy tales, these more real-life gritty stories, that was a really cool idea. And to do it with like the Ice Queen now with this one, I thought it was a nice idea. And to watch her and then maybe Snow White's armies come to a standoff and have that conflict build up, I thought that would have been really interesting. But what they did here was not that in the slightest. I felt like it was just so much wasted potential here. Everybody else, I mean, was pretty good. I mean, Emily Blunt as the Ice Queen was really good. Charlize Theron or Theron, I don't know how to say your name, but her as her character from the last movie, also good. Jessica Chastain and Chris Hemsworth, they were fine. The more I'm sitting down thinking about certain aspects of this movie, I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like the Huntsman from the first movie is a very different character than the one we have in the second movie. The son in the second movie is this really cocky sort of, you know, charismatic sort of dude, and I felt like the one in the first one, I know his wife died and he thought his wife was dead in the first one, and then we find out that she's actually not in the second one, but I just felt like that's not the same character. You know what I mean? This one's cracking way too many jokes. He's way too cheery. I don't know if it's just me. I mean, even before he realizes Jessica Chastain is still alive, I mean, no, I just felt like it was a totally different character, and not that it killed the movie experience for me, but it stuck out to me, and I was like, I haven't seen the last movie in a while, but I can definitely, I'm pretty sure that's not the same guy, and that's not how the guy from the original one would have really acted. And we kind of also established like the rule of physics inside the last movie. I mean, I don't know, it's just something about the last movie just felt a lot more realistic than this one did. I mean, in this one, the Huntsman's doing flips and swinging around and fighting goblins with his bare hands and stuff, and he's, you know, taking on 10 guys at once with just his bare hands, choo choo choo, like he's the freaking Neo from the Matrix. I don't know, it just, I felt like it was a weird jump from one movie to the next. It's not the rules that we established in the first one, so it feels weird when we come here in the second one and we do this. I mean, the one from the last one could take on quite a few guys himself, but I mean, just the way that they do it in this movie, it just seems totally different. He's doing weird, like, cartwheels in the freaking air 3 times over. I'm like, that's totally not something that could have happened in the last movie. That's just totally not something that would have happened. It's just, it doesn't fit. Okay, it just doesn't fit. I like the whole grittiness of, you know, this fantasy fairy tale world, you know? Guys, I'm just rambling on here. I really had high hopes for this movie. I really kind of enjoyed the first one, and I was really hoping to really enjoy this one too. But honestly, at the end of the day, guys, I'm gonna have to give this movie a 6 out of 10.
Great kid, don't get cocky.
It's just average. It's not above average, it's not below average. It's definitely below my expectations. I was really hoping for a really good hit here. I had some reservations because I could see some of that, of the Huntsman not really acting like who he was in the first movie through the trailers. You know what I mean? Like when that scene where they're like, what are we gonna do? Just take on the army? He's like, yeah, something like that. It sounds something more like what Thor would have said. You know, I feel like they're trying to, because everybody knows Thor, I feel like that's what they're trying to market it towards. The fact that everybody knows who Thor is, I'm like, I don't want them to do that. The way it worked in the first movie I thought was really nice, and if they had shown maybe an evolution of that, I think that would have been better. But the way it worked out here, I just feel like it didn't really work. It's just an average movie. Special effects were okay, characters were okay, everything was just kind of okay about this movie. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure you guys got your own. Let me know in the comment section down below. What did you guys think of The Huntsman, Winter's War? Did you love it? Did you hate it? As always, you guys can follow me on Vine, Twitter, MoviePilot, and Twitch. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. I'm the Messiah. This is Messiah Entertainment. Peace.